Hello and welcome to another day of conversation. Today we're going to talk about some numbers, about money, and also about times, days of the week, months. So the first word we've learned a lot of numbers, but we haven't learned zero yet. So the first number we're going to learn is the number 0. And this one is rather easy to pronounce. Son. Pretty easy. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is Khmer money. So Khmer money is called Riel, and that's the second card here. I'll show you in just a second. Riel, R-I-E-L, and this is what they call their money. And it's pronounced Riel. Riel. Your accent is on the first syllable. Riel. Riel. All right. So when we're talking about money, the smallest riel that you'll see is probably 100 riel. So we want to talk about some of those. Another thing I do want to talk about, though, is dollars. If you've lived in Cambodia for a long time, you know that they will take dollars, but they pronounce it dollar. Dollar. So for instance, if you were to ask somebody, man, how much is this? For instance, this marker, man, they would probably say $1, $1. Now, it is common just to say riel, 1 riel. Well, context tells me they're not talking about a riel. 100 riel will buy you about a piece of candy. So obviously I can't get 100 of these for the price of a candy. It's a context thing. So just notice that they can say riel, they can say dollar, and that will be taken care of context. If something is $20, I'm sorry, riel, 20 riel, and it's something that's worth, $20, obviously they're talking about dollars. So just know that they can say them both ways. Context tells you what they're talking about, but just these two. So riel, dollar, and this, I'm sorry, this has a long O, dollar. All right, the next thing we want to talk about is the smallest Cambodia riel, which is the 100. So here we have the number 100. First of all, I want to talk about 100. The number 100, sorry. The number 100 is Roy. 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 So this O is held out longer. Roy. Long O. And the reason why I did not write 100 here is when we say 100, we use a contraction. A lot of times when we say one of something, they use a contraction. 1 hour, 100, 1,000. And that contraction is simply taking the M from the word moi. I'm going to change colors here. The M, so here's 100. I'm going to take the M from the word moi and put it with Roy. Maroy. Maroy. Right, this is how we say 100. Now this only works for the number 1. The number 200 would be Pi Roy, Bay Roy, Bun Roy. But for 100, instead of saying Mui Roy, they say Maroy. Maroy. Okay, so that takes care of 100. I'm going to erase this so we can stay higher up on the chalkboard. And we'll start talking about the next one, which is 1,000. 1,000 goes the same way. When we have 1,000, we're going to use a contraction. And the word for 1,000 is actually, I put a B there, but the one I told you before is that P sound with no H. B, b, b. Bo-un. Boan, Mboan. So 3,000 would be Bay Boan. Right here is your number for 1,000. Pram Boan. Now if I get to Pramoy Boan, 6,000, I can't use a contraction for that one. It has to be as Moy, Pramoy Boan. It only works, the contraction only works for the number 1. Great, so this is Mapon. 7,000 would be Prampi Bon. And on and on. Now I have something that is different from English. So here's your 1,000, and that is the 10,000s place. In English, the 10,000s place is simply read as 10 or 20 or 30,000, whatever it is. In Khmer, it is its own name. So this place here, the 10,000s place, has its own name in and of itself. And this is a difficult one to pronounce. I'm not really sure how to write it in English. The vowel is mern, So it's a very tight vowel in your mouth. You'll see a lot of times they make almost a grimace. Mern, more like mern. So this is a sound, and just get as close as you can, but just realize this is the word for 10,000. So this is mern. Bi mern would be 20,000. By mern would be 30,000. Now we want to talk about a combination of some of them. So let's go back to, well, let's just start with this one. We have, instead of saying 32,000 samsep b, which I know we need to start learning our 20s, 30s, 40s, so we'll get to that really soon. You don't know 30 yet, but 30 is samsep. So instead of saying samsep b, 32,000, like what we would say in English, we have to say, I mean, sometimes you can say it, it just sounds odd, and a lot of people would need you to clarify what number you're talking about. So how they would say this is Bai, Mern, Bi, and you could say Puan. Now, I will tell you that most people will not say Puan. A lot of times how this is read is Bai, Mern, Bi. When you say this, you say the place value, Bai, Mern. The B, the place value, is just assumed that it will be the next place value over. So you just assume that it's talking about Puan. Is what is normally is. So Mern, Pramoy. You do not have to say Puan. Mern, Pramoy. For instance, let's erase that. Go back to the top of the board again, and we're going to do a couple more. Something like this. How would we read this? Mpuan, buan. And you could say roy, but you don't have to. So mpuan, buan. Let's try this one. How would this be read? Pramui puan, pram. Pramui puan, pram. All right, now if we happen to have something like, let's do this, where we're skipping a place value, this one we want to be very specific about where the 7 is. So instead of saying mui mern, prampi, we would have to say mui mern, prampi roy, and for normal speaking they would say prampal roy, the other part of it. So mupuan, prampal roy. That tells us exactly where that 7 is. So if it's something like this, then it more indicates that they're skipping a place value. You have to say it here. Whereas this one, let's do this one. This one could be said mui mern bai. This one has to be mui mern pramparoy because we want to specify that it's in the 700s. Now, whether this is an actual rule I don't know, but I will say that this is how people speak on the street. So just so you can understand it, if you say mui mern bai puan, they're going to understand you. But I want you to be able to understand them when they say mui mern bai. They mean 1 in the 10,000th place, 3 in the next place over, which is the 1,000th place. Anyway, that's how their money works. And then obviously we know the word Thlai Pan Man. So Thlai Pan Man, how much is it? Let's just review those real quick before we go on. So first of all, we have the number for 0, which is Son, okay? Riel, and how do they say dollar? Dollar. All right. 100. Maroi, how would you say 800? Pram bay roi. Okay. Puan. Mapuan would be 1,000. I'm sorry I said that fast, didn't give you a chance. And then how would you say 9,000? Prambuan puan. All right, we also had this one, which is what? Mun. This number specifically is mun or mui mun. Sometimes with this one, because there's 2 M's together, they don't use the abbreviation as much, although they do use it. So mun or mui mun. How would you say for 40,000? Sorry, 40,000. Buon mun. Okay, now we want to talk about our day, week, year, something like that. So the first word is hour. This one is rather easy to pronounce. There's one in there that is not, and unfortunately it's used a lot. So it's just one of those that you have to keep trying. Hour is maung. Remember, ow rhymes with cow. Maung. Maung. So that's hour. So if I were to ask you what time it is, right now it's 2 o'clock, you could say maung pi. How do you say what time is it? Well, we learned the word when we said how much is something Thlai Pan Man, and we learned that word Pan Man sort of means how many or what one or what. So basically we're asking what hour. Maung Pan Man. So to ask what time it is, you would ask somebody Maung Pan Man. Hour, which one? Okay, Pan Man. Like how many hours is it? It's not counting the number of hours, but it's asking the time. So just remember, if you want to ask the time, you say hour, how many? Maung Pan Man. And then they would answer Maung Pi, Maung Buon. Now, we're going to learn the bigger numbers later, but for instance, if I were to have this time, I would just say Maung Buon Dok Pram, 4:15. Same as English. All right, so that's the hour. The next one we come to is day, and this is the one that is incredibly difficult for foreigners to be able to say. It's one of those that we're just not used to saying, and the problem comes with this NG. We're not used to saying it at the beginning of a word. So I would suggest starting here, and if you say the word song and stop your mouth and concentrate on where your tongue is, and then try to drop your tongue and bring it up to that same place without saying the word song. So song, and work at bringing your tongue back up there. Then use that to start a word or a syllable. Ngai, ngai, ngai. When you can get ngai down, then add the t, ngai, t, ngai. So this said at normal speed is t, ngai, t, ngai. Right? T, ngai is day. The next one we have is week, and that is right here. I'm just got to remember that I want to put them all in order. We'll go through this later as a review. Week is a, tat, a, tat, a, tat, ngai. Ngai, the I is the accented syllable. Week, a, tat, a, tat. One thing interesting is the word for Sunday is Tngai Atad. Tngai Atad. So the names of the week in Khmer are actually all names of heavenly bodies, planets, the sun, things like that. So this word Atad, if you were to add the word Preh to it, it would be Preh Atad. it actually means the sun god, or they use a lot of words God with their planets or with the sun, the moon as well. So Pre Atit is the sun, Atit is week, Tngai Atit is Sunday. Okay, it's talking about Sunday. Another day is called Tngai, and then it would be the name for Venus or Jupiter or Saturn, something like that. So Sunday comes after the word sun, just like our English word. So to just go over it again. Tngai is day, Atit is week, Tngai Atit is Sunday. Those are the three most important things. Okay, there is another word for sun, a normal word, but the fancy word, whatever, maybe even official word, Pre Atit. But there is another word that you'll probably hear more often. So if you hear another word for sun, there is another word for it. The next one we want to go on to is month, and you should know this word already. I'm going to erase and put it at the top. You've had this word in reading. It's a very simple word. It means two things. It means month. It also means moon, right? Okay, so if you're not taking phonics, okay, month. Okay, you could say something like Khnyom Riel Phasa Khmer 3 khải. I have studied Khmer 3 months. Okay, you'll notice that we don't have to use a plural on there. 3 khải. Plural is just assumed. It's 3, it's assumed to be plural. So you don't have to worry about adding S's and the spelling and different things that we have in English. Khnyom Riel Khmer 3 khải. Simple. That's the word month. The next word that we have, and the last one for today, is the word year. Year. And year is not very difficult to pronounce either. It's nice. Year is CH, and then nam, chnam, chnam. Right? It's actually only one syllable, but chnam is the word year. Okay? We talked a little bit, I think we talked a little bit, ayupman, your age. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we haven't done that one. But ayupman is how old are you? We'll get to that one later if we haven't already. And you could say, 18 chnam, 18 years. Or the word for 20 is mapai chnam, 23 years. You don't have to say old. Mapai chnam, 23 years. And you're done. You could say, Khnyom Riel Phasa Khmer 3 chnam, 2 years studied Khmer. So we have those. Let's go over those real quick, starting with the number 0. How do you say 0? I'm going to give you a second. Son. Riel. And how do you say the word dollar? La. Okay, the la should be what's heard the most. Maroi. Okay, so for this, I think what I want you to do, instead of saying maroi, is just say roi, meaning the hundreds place. Roi, 100. And then for thousands, just say poan, poan. Okay, so what would this one be? Moon, moon. Good. Hour. And I have these up here, so I'm going to erase these. Hour, you've had enough time to think now. Maung, maung. Ngày, ngày. Week. Atit, atit. Month. Okay. Okay, that's an easy one. And year. Chnam, chnam. So how would you say the word Sunday? Tngai, atit. How would you say what time is it? Maung, bon man. All right, thank you. Enjoy. Chum rip lia.